First thing, obviously, summary of the Michigan game. The critical stats, we did not do a good job with. We turned the ball over 3 times. We did win the penalty battle, drive start battle. We did not win sack battle. We did not win an explosive play battle. We did not win. The interesting thing is when you go back and you watch that game, obviously we played a really good team, a very talented team on the road and did play well. Seems like whoever's been the home team the last couple of years in this series has had a lot of success. It's amazing when you kind of look back at that game. I think with like a minute to go in the third quarter, it was 14-0, and then we just made some mistakes that allowed the game to go the way it went. We had some opportunities with a blocked field goal. We made a critical mistake there that would have tied the game up to 7-all. But we just didn't play well. We did not play well. We got to take responsibility for that. We got to man up to that. We got to watch the film, make the corrections, which we did on Sunday. Give Michigan a bunch of credit because they are a very good football team. And then obviously move on to Wisconsin. So we did that on Sunday. Felt like we made some good progress there. And obviously yesterday was off, and then today's our first day back to practice. So looking forward to the opportunity against Wisconsin. Kind of talk about Wisconsin a little bit. Paul Chris obviously does a really good job. He's got tremendous history, with that program, obviously growing up in that town and coaching there for a number of years. So, great situation with him being able to come back home. He's done a great job representing that program and coaching that team. 17 of their 29 starters back. Obviously, it starts with their offense and what they're able to do up front with their offensive line and their running back. They're a multiple formation based around tight ends and personnel groups. 75% runs on normal downs. They're going to try to establish the run. That's who they are. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball again. Then they'll complement it with play action pass. Guys that we've obviously been impressed with. Jonathan Taylor, kid from New Jersey that we're aware of. Not only is he going to be able to get 4 to 6 yards of carry, but he also has the ability to go 70 behind that offensive line. Danny Davis, the wide receiver, who seems to make a bunch of big plays for them. And then obviously their offensive line with 176 career starts with that unit. Defensively, Jim Leonard, it was the 2nd season there as a defensive coordinator, 3rd season overall. Big, physical, strong, what you would think of a Wisconsin defense. I would say they base out of odd personnel, 3-down personnel, but depending on what personnel group and formations you're in, you can get even spacing. So they'll play more of a 4-down front with 3-down personnel. They're going to base in some type of 2-high coverage, either quarter, half, or quarters. Obviously, it looks like they won't have their nose guard, which I think, in a 3-4 odd front defense, that's a big part of what they do is that position. It kind of all stems around that position. But we've been very impressed with, the middle linebacker number 53, T.J. Edwards, who's played, seems like he's been playing there forever. Dakota Dixon, number 14, a strong safety. And then Ryan Connolly, linebacker number 43, who I actually think was just named a finalist for the Butkus Award. So, that'll be a real challenge for us. And then obviously, Chris Herring is their special teams coordinator. Has done a really good job for them as well. Very balanced. You look at their kickoff guy, he's crushing the ball right now. 84% of his kicks go for touchbacks. I don't know how many opportunities we will get there. Aaron Cruikshank is a kid out of Brooklyn that we recruited, a wide receiver, kick return guy who can run and make plays for him. Had a bunch of big plays, a couple that have been called back for penalties. And then they got a linebacker number 54, Chris Orr, who starts for them on 3 units and does a really good job for them. A couple other notes I just thought I'd mention. Obviously, this week is Thon game. Charlie Schumann came to us representing Thon and talked about us, putting a sticker on the back of our helmet. I don't think we've ever done that before, so our guys are excited about that. Obviously, our team embraces the the Thon and what Thon has done for this community, what Thon has done for Penn State, and most importantly, what Thon has done for those families and those kids. So our guys really embrace it. And then having honorary captains Devin and Leah still back is really cool as well, because obviously their connection with Thon and our university and our football program. And then, Robert Windsor obviously is from Wisconsin, from Fond du Lac. They got a kid on their team from Fond du Lac as well. I thought they went to the same high school, but I guess Fond du Lac has 2 high schools in it. So I'll open up the questions.
Start with Rich Scarsella, Running Eagle.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good, Rich. How are you?
All right. Overall, do you feel that you guys have played or coached up to your standards this season?
No. Yeah, no. I think obviously, our standards and our expectation is to win every game we play. So we have not done that for a number of reasons. I mean, I think you can list them all out, but at the end of the day, we have not played up to the standard that we have. Because our standard is to go out and put ourselves in the best position to win every single game, and we haven't done that. So, we will not be satisfied until we're in that situation. But yeah, we have very, very high standards and expectations of who and what we want to be.
Bob Flounders, Harrisburg Patriot News.
Hello, James. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm just saying, I wanted to ask you about Miles Sanders in the run game. Your thoughts on that the last couple of weeks, and maybe the importance of getting him and then more established this weekend time.
Yeah, definitely. Last week, obviously, that was a big storyline, and the game is up front. Especially their D line and linebackers against our O line and tight ends, and we did not play well enough there. We did not put our players in the best position enough. So we got to get our running game established. Miles has shown that he can be a big play back in this conference, and that he can carry the load and get you the tough yards as well as the big plays. So it's going to be very important that we find a way to establish a run game again, so there's not so much on the shoulders of Trace McSorley.
Derek Lamar, Spokesman Times leader.
Hi, James. Good afternoon.
Hey, Derek.
James, what stood out most to you about John Reed with how he progressed this season and how he dealt with recovery and the rust that came with that early on?
Yeah, I think early on, obviously, you got the physical aspect of coming back from the injury, then you also have the mental aspect of coming back from the injury. And I think, weekly he's grown and gotten better and gotten more confident and those types of things. So, we believe in John, got a lot of confidence in John. He's a tremendous leader for us. He's a tremendous teammate. Has the ability to be a big-time playmaker for us as well. So, we're expecting him to have a great game this week.
Mark Williams, Channel Morning Call.
Hi, James. How are you?
Good, Mark. How are you?
Good, thanks. Last week, in response to the question, you discussed experience and stability counting with regard to your coaching staff. How has your offensive staff handled the changes that were made this offseason? How have they, approached that stability and experience component of it throughout the course of this year?
Yeah, obviously, when you lose as many staff members as we lost from one side of the ball, it has an impact. It has an impact. Obviously, being able to get Tyler Bowen, who really kind of understands our culture and has been involved in this offense for a number of years, that helped. But yeah, there's a transition there. So I think at times we've done some really good things, and at other times we haven't. And that's really kind of in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. So it's going to be important that we just continue to grow and continue to evolve and get better this week and build on it, and keep taking steps in the right direction. And that's players, that's coaches, that's all of us together.
Frank Bonanni, your updated record.
Hey, good afternoon, James.
Hey, good, Frank. How are you?
Real good, thanks. Your passing operation, what do you think would be one thing that's the biggest issue, or what you're most disappointed in? And at this point in the season, how can you fix that or get that better?
Well, I think one of the issues that we've been battling all year long is drops. We've had too many drops, and think that's obviously been stated a number of times in here, people asking me that question. Last week, we had protection issues. So a combination of those two things. So, we got to be more consistent in the throws we make. We got to be more consistent in catching the ball. When we have an opportunity to make a play, we got to make a play. And then we got to be able to give, our quarterback as much time as he needs to go through his progression and his reads. So it's a little bit of all of it, and that's how we're going to have to approach it. I don't expect us to just get dramatically better in one area. We just got to get a little bit better in each area and do that weekly.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Joe.
You mentioned after the game Saturday that the guys, your team was really hurting in the locker room. When you saw them on Sunday, did you please with the response they showed, or did you feel they were still a little bit down?
Yeah, I think obviously the losses hurt. There's no doubt about it. But I also want to make sure that we're doing a good job of managing those losses and how we approach them and how we talk about them and then how we recover and move on to the next win or the next game. Excuse me. I think that is critical to give us the best opportunity to go out and get a win. So. I think the meetings were good. All the feedback I got from the coaches were really good. The team meeting was good. The offense, defense, and special teams meetings were really good. I thought the messages were great. I thought the questions were really good. I see all the signs that I've seen the last couple of years when we've had success. We just got to consistently make more plays and be more detailed.
Mike Gross, Lancaster Newspapers.
Mike.
Hold on.
Mike.
He said hold on, Chris.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, screwed up there with my phone. Sorry.
No problem.
We're on live TV, it's okay.
He's on another call.
My question is about your first go-round with the new redshirt rule. And how do you feel like you're managing that? Or are there any surprises about that? Is that going about the way you wanted it to?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, Jahan's a guy that we're playing and probably had planned on, trying to kind of hold his red shirt. But back to the point we were just discussing about, needing a little bit more production in the passing game and a little bit more consistently catching the ball. He's the guy that's done that. Whenever we throw the ball in his direction, he seems to find a way to come down with it. So that's probably the one that's gone a little bit different than what we had kind of planned for. But I would also say that part of the plan was knowing that, based on injuries and production and other things that, we would evolve and change as things went. In a perfect world, you'd love to be able to hold those guys if you could, but, it didn't necessarily play out that way.
Donnie Collins, Grand Times Tribune.
Hey Donnie, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How do you compare and contrast the styles of two Wisconsin quarterbacks when you broke and cone, and then how does it change things preparation-wise for you guys when you're not sure what the health of the starting quarterback for the other team?
Well, I would say for us, we always kind of go about things that we plan for the starters. No different than last week. We're going to plan that the starter is going to be there and those types of things. I would say though, in today's day and age with concussions and things like that, when a guy's in a concussion protocol, he's been in it a couple times this year, I think that's challenging. I think we better be prepared for not only the starter like we always do, but also the backup. I think at the end of the day with them, I don't know how much it will factor in, because I think it's going to start with the run game. It's going to go with the run game, through the second, third quarter, and it's going to be the run game in the fourth quarter. It starts and ends with the run game for them, and then obviously they're going to complement it with play action pass. So we got to be prepared for those things, but I don't really see the style of the game changing based on the quarterback that they have in there.
Corey Geiger, Altoona Mirror.
Hi, James. How are you?
Good, Corey. How are you?
I'm sorry this is away from football, but with the election being today, how important do you see your role as a leader of young men when it comes to civic duty, social issues, political issues, and the importance of voting?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think a lot of times as coaches and as football coaches, especially during the season, you kind of go into the submarine, and a lot of times you don't even know what's going on in the world. You don't see sunlight. You get in early in the morning, and you don't leave until late at night. So that can be challenging. But I think obviously it's something that's very, very important. I think one of the things that we've done a good job as coaches, but even more so, we've been able to hire the last couple of years some off-the-field positions that, are dealing with all of these things, and they're dealing with them, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, whether it's internships, whether it's job fairs, whether it's voting, whether it's all these types of things. So I think one of the things that's really good is making the process as easy as possible for our guys so that a large percentage would go and do it. So making sure our guys knew what all the options were on campus, off campus, things like that. I think it's really critical. I read something, early this morning about, I think it was Coach Peterson at Washington, and they were having a discussion about everybody talking about political issues and arguments and heated debates and things like that. And asked for guys to raise their hand who voted, and very few had voted, and said, well, how can you have a real strong opinion if you're not involved in the process? So, I think it's a big part of what we do and how we do it. I think obviously, for us and for players and for fans, it's we understand the importance of the wins and the losses, but in college football, we also have a very, very strong responsibility of making sure that we're educating our guys beyond just the game. That football and college athletics is a complementary piece of what they're learning in the classroom. And then on top of that, that we're also having discussions about all these other social issues and challenges and things that we also have responsibilities for. So I think one of the things that you guys may or may not know that we do that kind of falls in line with that is we have a guest coach program where we have a professor travel with the team, during home and away games. And I think that's been a real positive of building those relationships on campus, and our players being able to develop those relationships, and also the faculty members see maybe a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that they weren't aware of. So I think all these things are important in college athletics, that we're all working together for our campus, and we're all working together for our communities, but also for society. That's what we're supposed to be doing in athletics, and that's what we're supposed to be doing specifically in college athletics and on college campuses.
We'll open up to questions here in the room. Raise your hand and we'll get a mic to you.
Hey James, how you doing? I'm doing great. Hey, going back to Mike's question about red shirts, you've been able to bank a lot of games for your true freshmen. Do you plan on using some of these kids in the final 3 games, and can you address specifically Justin Shorter? Yeah,
that was our plan, is to make sure that we had the bowl game available for guys, and then also try to be strategic as the season goes. It's hard to say you're going to play guys in these 2 games because of injuries. So we started out trying to get some guys experience when we could early in the season, and then we wanted to save some games, for injuries or for just late in the season, just in general. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We'd like to try to maximize, those games out as much as we possibly can, with those players, and specifically Justin. Now, if a guy's not ready to play, we're not just going to play him just to play. It's those guys that are right on the bubble. I think Justin's a really good example of that. So yeah, I can see those guys, with the number of games that we have left. I think you're going to end up seeing some of these guys over the next few games.
You mean Justin's on the bubble of being ready to play?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, he's really done some nice things. Obviously, he had an injury early on that kind of slowed him down. I had a really good discussion with him, the other day. He came in and wanted to meet with me kind of about some things. And he's actually, looking at his college experience very similar to his high school experience, where, he started out, maybe a little bit slow, and worked himself into being one of the best receivers in the country, if not the best receiver in the country. And I think, I think you're going to see a similar development with him here, just because of his approach, his attitude. Mom and dad have been awesome. He's been great. And I think a lot of times we got these high-profile recruits like this. They don't always handle this stuff well. Him and his family have been unbelievable. No different than the recruiting process. You know, #1 receiver in the country, he commits, never goes on another visit, never talks to anybody else. He shuts it down. It's over. No drama. None of it. So he's just, they've been unbelievable really since day one.
Dave?
James, how does Jonathan Taylor's style compare to some of the other quality backs you faced this year? And what are the keys to limiting the damage he can do to you?
Yeah, I think in some ways he's similar, but I would say he's probably got the best combination of body type, balance, vision, speed. We've gone against some guys that are going to get you the tough yards, 6 or 4 yards or 8 yards. We've gone against some guys that can take it the distance, but it's hard to find a guy that can do all those things. And he has the ability to do all those things, and then it's magnified because of the type of offense he plays in and because of the type of line that he plays behind. So it's going to be a real challenge for us. I don't think there's any doubt about it. For our defensive line, for our linebackers, and for our secondary. Like always, it's going to start and end up front. Our defensive line is a tremendous challenge against our offensive line, and then I think the experience that we have gained with Jan and Micah, and guys like that, I think is really valuable. Coe's obviously played a lot of football. Cam Brown's played a lot of football for us, but Jan's development, Micah's development, even Ellis Brooks is really doing some good things now. So I think that helps in this type of game.
James, we saw Tommy get in to provide a spark. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I got a coffee here. We saw Tommy get in to provide a spark to Michigan, a vital part of your plans moving forward. Do you think there's an opportunity for him to get in a series or two at quarterback over this final stretch? How do you handle that?
Yeah, we'll probably continue approaching it the way we have with with being able to mix him in. In some of the packages that we've used him with, either 2 quarterbacks or have him in for a receiver or tight end or running back. So we'll probably continue to approach it that way, which is a way to get him some experience, but also allow Trace to get into rhythm and our offense to get into rhythm, which is important. That's the thing we haven't done a great job of the last couple of weeks. Is we got to be better, on first and second down.
Pete Frank. Or whoever has it over the mic.
Did you vote? How were the lines?
I actually did not. Planned on voting, this morning. Something came up. My wife went. Something came up that I wasn't kind of able to get out. So still trying. I voted last year, and still trying to get over it. But something came up that the time I had scheduled to go, I wasn't able to go.
James, last year you had 4 receivers, 4 pass targets, get 50+ receptions. No one's to 30 yet. We saw KJ get pretty fired up on the sideline. Are there some frustrations boiling with any of those guys individually, just about whether it's their inability or a scheme situation where the production just has not been there for 9 games?
Yeah, they're frustrated with us not having the team success last Saturday. That's kind of where our guys are at. Our guys want the team to be successful. They want to contribute towards that success. But I think that's really kind of been the approach and how those guys have handled it.
Hey James.
How you doing?
Good. How are you doing? Good. If you have a player that has possibly lost confidence, is there a way you can maybe manufacture success or positions where they can begin to succeed that could boost that confidence, or how do you go about rebuilding that in a player who may not be playing up to what they are capable of because of that?
Yeah, I think it's conversations. I think it's things you talk about, things you say. I think how you interact and how you talk to players is really important, especially at times like that. So I think that's really important. I think being able to use the sports psychologist is an important aspect of it as well. And then I think some of the things you talked about, putting our guys in advantageous positions in practice, kind of how we talked about managing, Jake Pinniger early on, putting him out there for field goals that we think he had the best chance to make, and either going for it on 4th down or punting in the other situations. So it's part of that as well. I think it's a combination of all those things. And then I think the biggest way to build confidence is to be able to have repeated success, and that doesn't necessarily always have to be in games. That's in practice. That's through preparation. I think people are more confident the more prepared they are. So it's a combination of all of those things. I think one of the things that I talked about a little bit last week was, and I see a little bit with us, is everybody else is waiting for someone to make the play, and they're going to rally behind that person. And what I talked about is every single one of them was brought into this program in the room to make that play, not to wait for somebody else to do it. So I think that's something that's really, really important, is those guys are understanding that they were brought here to make the plays, they're capable of making the plays, and they need to go do them. But I think right now we're kind of waiting for someone else to make the play, and when that happens, everybody gets excited and rallies behind them. Where I think our approach needs to be, you're going to make the play, and when the opportunity presents itself, you're going to take advantage of it.
Audrey.
Hey, James. How do you think you guys have done as a whole managing the clock this year in terms of timeouts and those sorts of things? And what went into, you guys had that timeout on 4th and 24 with the punt. What kind of happened there?
Yeah, obviously there's been some situations, that one on Saturday, that we did not manage well. I think what happened was it was the first time that we had good field position. And my gut was saying that we needed to do something to spark the team right there, maybe take on some risk and go for it. Obviously, called the timeout, and then after doing it, realized that wasn't the right thing to do. So punted the ball. I don't think that situation really impacted the game a whole lot, but that's what was kind of going through my mind. No different than the kickoff return. At that point, we didn't have a whole lot of offense. Wanted to put the ball in KJ's hands and give us a chance to kind of spark some things. So yeah, after the fact, there's no doubt about it. When things don't go well, you second guess those things. We've made some decisions in the past that have been maybe somewhat unorthodox, that have been very beneficial, to our success. But yeah, on Saturday, obviously that was one that I did not handle well.
James, you guys haven't really been in this situation for 30-some games where you're coming off at least a lopsided final score. Is the role of the coaches and everybody magnified in a regrouping mode? And also, I was wondering about Miles' state of mind and the exchanges there, because there's been some really untimely fumbles.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah.
That was a big one. That one, wasn't Miles. It was indecision in the hole. And you watch it, the ball's on his hip, not in the pocket when we let it go. So there's no doubt about it. There's been a couple of those that we got to get cleaned up. But yeah, I would make the argument. There's no doubt about it that Saturday was a tough one for all of us to swallow. But I'd also make the argument we're one of the few programs in the country up to that point that hadn't had a lopsided loss. We had some tough losses, in tight games, but we've been one of the more competitive programs, over that stretch in the country. So, we got work to do. There's no doubt about it, and there's nobody in the building right now, that is comfortable with where we're at. That's coaches, that's players, that's everybody. We got an opportunity to get a win against a really good program, a storied, historic program in this conference. Has had a lot of success, like us here recently, and we're gonna have to play well. We're gonna need all the fans' support. Mother Nature's not being this cooperative with some of the parking being shut down, but we're gonna need the fans. We're going to need the fans there supporting us, supporting our players, supporting Penn State, because we got a real challenge. And most importantly, we've got to find a way to get a W against a great program on Saturday.
James, you mentioned John Dotson earlier as a guy who has played well enough that you wanted to burn his red shirt. Now, him playing in the slot takes away from some reps from a guy like KJ Hammer, who's also in his freshman season on the field. How do you balance playing both of them and wanting to see what both of them can do? Because obviously they're both going to play a factor in going forward.
That was a big challenge. That was a big part of the discussion of redshirting him. Based on that discussion, there's no doubt about it. But, the reality is KJ can't play every rep. He can't play every single rep in the game, so we want to make sure that when he taps, that that John will be in position to go in there and make some plays for us. And then it also allows us to move some other guys around too, like Matt Kippenhammer, who's also done some good things for us too. So, that's going to be an important part of this week, is kind of finding out what's going to be the best lineup, getting those guys on the field and give Trace as many options to make plays for him as possible.
Upon evaluation of the Stevens and McSorley, interchanging towards the end as the game's getting out of hand, would you have approached that any differently a few days later in retrospect? And you talked about making that decision. Maybe Trace should have been taken out a little bit earlier, get Tommy in there. Do you adjust the timeline as a staff going into this next game?
What do you mean adjust the timeline?
I guess I would hate to say shorten the leash or anything, but do you keep a tighter eye on Trace and try to make a more decisive call earlier in the game rather than get it to the point where there's regret about not making it earlier?
Yeah, I guess that's where I struggle with is it's very easy after the fact when something doesn't go well to go back and say we should have handled things differently, and we do that. We look at those things very well. I think at the time it's hard to say what we're going to do this week because there's 1,000 variables that go into making those decisions. How the game is going, how guys are playing, all of it. Health, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So to sit here and try to predict that, I don't know if that makes a whole lot of sense. And again, I understand you got to ask the question, but after the fact, when something doesn't go well, there's decisions that I watch every single Saturday in our games or in games on TV or on Sundays. That if the call doesn't go well, it's going to be critiqued. I get that. But that's why you play the game. That's why you make the decisions. Try to take all the information you possibly can ahead of time, based on practice, based on game plan, based on those things, and you make the best decision at the time. It may not always seem to everybody that doesn't have all the information. Maybe it doesn't make sense sometimes, but that's what it's about. And I get that comes with critique. I get that.
Time for two more.
Hey James, your team, your defense held Michigan to 14 points through basically 3 quarters of the game.
Really 4 quarters.
Is that, and that's part of the way Michigan seems to play, kind of like the way Wisconsin plays, where it's kind of a slow burn offensively for them, so that by the end of the game, it looks very different than what it might have at the second quarter. How do you evaluate how your defense did through that, and how might you feel about that going into a game versus a team that has a similar style?
I think that's a great question. I think that's very fair. I think when you see the final score, it would probably tell you something different if you hadn't watched the game or if you hadn't studied the game. Our defense, really did some nice things. There was obviously some times that you'd love to get off the field. There's some times where we had them backed up, coming out that you'd like to see. We can get off the field, be able to swing field position, things like that. But overall, your point is a great one. I think that's one of the things I led the press conference with is. With very little time left in the third quarter, it was 14-0, and it really should have been 7-all. It really should have been 7-all with the blocked field goal return for a touchdown. Should have been 7-all. So yeah, I think we had some opportunities to make it a very, very competitive game against a really good football team on the road, and we didn't do that. I think Brent Pry's response and the defensive staff's response always going to be, well, we didn't do enough, and I get that, but I think there's also some really good things that were in there too.
James, before the season, you said that you thought this would be kind of the best offensive line you guys had. It would be a strength of the team. At this point in the year, do you think that's held true, and how do you think those guys have done?
Yeah, obviously based on last week, no. some of those guys are dinged up and fighting through some things. But yeah, I felt early on we were doing that. Last week we did not. And, obviously, Michigan's done that to a lot of people. They're the #1 defense in the country, for a reason, in multiple categories. So, yeah, obviously that question coming after last week is really hard for me to answer it any other way than
as a whole, it's whole year.
Yeah, but it's hard to answer that right after